think I think the world's in a tough spot right now. World's in a tough spot when we allow what's comedy become our reality. And I remember as a kid watching, um, you know, I remember watching this movie called Joanna Man. And essentially the movie's about an NBA player who is suspended from the NBA and he goes and he plays in the WNBA. And he goes in the WNBA and he just straight dominates. And he goes and he dresses up as a girl. He calls himself Joanna Man. And it's just a super funny movie. And I want to say this is like an early 2000s movie. And it's just jokes. And then, a couple years ago even, when some of this nonsense started coming into the into the world, South Park just they mocked it as well. They had I can't remember the exact name of the wrestler, but basically they had a WWE wrestler go out and do like the weight challenges against women, basically saying that he's a woman, and it's like it's it's disturbing, honestly. Like you're setting a very tough precedent for the future of women's sports. The world that we set right now is going to be the world for our kids and our kids' futures. Um, and even going so far as to say that a boy can be a girl and a girl can be a boy. You know, we're leaving a scary precedent for these kids growing up. Um, I'm not a father of girls. If I did have daughters, I think this would be even more disturbing. But we set an interesting precedent for our kids and our kids' futures if we allow men go and perform in women's sports, especially at high levels. Recently we've had the women, the transgender, the man become a woman and go and fight in mixed martial arts. And a man is so much stronger than a woman that you could have a girl that's super technical, really good jujitsu, and the man can just literally outmuscle her because he's a man. And whether or not whether or not they've changed anything, cut their parts off, whatever you call it, they're still a man. They were born a man. They grew up as a man, and instinctually in their DNA, they're physically stronger and more gifted. If you've never played sports against women, I guess you don't know. But like anybody who has good parents taught you, when you're growing up, don't go all out on a girl. I used to play in the boys and girls club, growing up playing basketball, and it's like you're not gonna push around a girl or anything. Play your hardest on a girl. You take it easy on a girl. Um, and it's basically, like I grew up like that. And these dudes didn't. Apparently these dudes thought, if I'm not good enough to play a man's sport, I can't beat men in this sport. I'm gonna go and pretend that I'm a woman, and I'm gonna go beat women, and I'm gonna go dominate the women. I don't even want to say this guy's name, but basically he was a college swimmer in men's for a few years, and he was not good, and then he transitioned to a female, and then he's literally been dominating. I believe in 3 events he set 5 records, including I know one of the events there was a female who had also beat the record. I think it was the Ivy League record. The female beat the record, but she got second place. So he takes the headlines, and it's just like, are we gonna allow men to ruin women's sports? Can you imagine a Joanna Man situation? Maybe not even a true NBA player. Maybe a college player that just not quite good enough to make the NBA. Maybe he's like a fringe G League player. Just decides, I'm a woman now. I'm gonna go play in the WNBA, a league where the best the best players are not that physically gifted. Like rarely ever dunk, when they do dunk, it's a rim grazer dunk. Can you imagine if a good level athlete, college basketball player went and played in the WNBA? He put 50 up a game. So imagine someone who's able to do a windmill dunk, tomahawks, and just it would be outrageous. And that's where we're going. We're not going to a point where the transgender men are playing in men's sports. It's the men becoming females, that are playing in female sports because they were men originally. And if that doesn't piss you off, I don't know what's wrong with you. You can have whatever your opinion is on what you do in your personal time, who you spend your time with. Do you? I'm not here to critique that. That's between you and God. But for me, it crosses the line when you bring this into other people's reality. You got females that have played their whole lives, committed to sports, and they're getting their livelihood. They're getting their lives that ruined. Like, can you imagine your daughter? She's 21. Let's say she's 20. She worked her whole life, dedicated to swimming. You took her to the swim meets every week. She spent hours upon hours dedicating her life to setting the Ivy League record, and a dude comes in who wasn't good enough to swim against men, comes in and dominates. It doesn't even look like the same sport. It looks like a Michael Phelps swimming against amateur swimmers or something like that. It's pathetic that anybody even entertained the idea of this. And that, a lot of people want to make like the argument, I think it was the Australian weightlifter thing. He had like a 40-year-old man who tried to be in the weightlifting against women, and he failed miserably in the Olympics. But it's even at that, like, he failed, but like a lot of men wouldn't fail. And it's getting to scary times. I think we as people need to rise up and not allow this stuff in women's sports. If people truly if we truly were equal, men and women, athletically gifted wise, we wouldn't have men's and women's sports. There would be no division. All the WNBA players, the best ones would play in the NBA. But we've never had that opportunity. There's never been a WNBA player so good that she could play in the NBA. That's just not how real life works. And just because people want to make these people happy with whatever's going on in their head, it doesn't make it okay for you to ruin other people's lives and other people who have worked their way to get to where they are. It's swimming today. It was MMA. Sometime we had an MMA thing a few months ago. We could get a dude who played baseball in the semi-pros. What if he goes and plays softball, or things can only get worse. I guess the semi-pro situation wouldn't work. But like, high school dude who's a star baseball player goes plays college softball. Just imagine how much better he would be hitting the bigger ball, against people who aren't throwing the ball near as fast as some of the pitchers he's used to. It's just we're in scary times if we allow this to happen. We need to make a stand. I know it's kind of a controversial topic. I'm not discussing anybody's rights or what you want to do behind closed doors. But I am specifically saying, like, this is not okay. This should not be allowed in female sports. If you want to have a situation like the girl go kick in a college football game, I'm all okay for that. If a girl truly is good enough, if there is ever a girl who's so good in the WNBA that she could be good enough to be on an NBA roster, I'm all for it. But allowing men who weren't good enough to play against men to dominate women it's an embarrassment to sports. Anybody knows that anybody that's played against females before in any kind of sports should understand the point I'm getting at. You could take a very good high school team and they would destroy a WNBA team. It's just how men are better athletes. It's how God made us. But that's just my take on the situation. As controversial as it may be.